Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Emma. Today we have a very exciting topic for you all: how to think in English like a native speaker. If you're learning English, this episode is for you. Remember, if you enjoy our podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more language learning tips.
That's right, Emma. Today we're going to talk about a simple but very important idea: learning to think directly in English. Many learners struggle because they always try to translate from their own language. We're here to share some mindset shifts and techniques that can help you stop translating and start thinking in English.
Let's start with a basic question. What does it mean to think in English? When we say that, we mean that instead of translating words or phrases in your head from your native language, you learn to use English naturally when you think.
Exactly. When you think in English, you don't pause to translate. You see a word, an idea, or a situation, and you automatically think of the English word or phrase. This makes speaking easier and faster, and it also helps you understand conversations better.
For beginners, it might feel hard at first. It's like training your brain to use a new tool. But with practice, you can change the way you think. You don't need to be perfect, just keep practicing.
One of the first mindset shifts is to trust the English language. Instead of thinking, how do I say this in English? Try to immerse yourself in the language. Here are some simple steps. 1. Stop translating. Instead of thinking in your own language and then translating, try to picture the object or idea directly in English. 2. Use simple words. Begin with simple words and phrases that you already know. Don't worry about complex grammar at first. 3. Be patient. Remember that thinking in a new language takes time and practice. It's okay to make mistakes.
I like to tell my students, give yourself permission to think in English, even if it's not perfect. Every time you catch yourself translating, gently remind yourself to use English. Over time, you'll notice that your brain starts to do it automatically.
And another important thing is to practice daily. Just like any new habit, your mind needs time to adjust. Even a few minutes each day can make a big difference.
Now let's get into some practical techniques that you can use right away.
A simple way to start is by labeling things around your home in English. For example, stick a note on your door that says door, on your mirror, mirror, and on your table, table.
That way, every time you see these objects, you will automatically see the English word. It builds your vocabulary and trains your brain to associate objects with their English names.
Try to do this in every room of your house. It might be fun to create colorful labels with simple words. The more you see these words, the easier it will be to think of them when you need them.
Another great technique is to keep a simple diary in English. Write a few sentences about your day. It can be as simple as, today I ate breakfast. I walked my dog. I read a book.
Writing in English every day helps your brain form sentences and think of ideas in English rather than your native language. It also shows you how much progress you are making over time.
Even if you only write 1 or 2 sentences, it adds up. Over time, you will see that you can write and think in English much more easily.
Immersing yourself in English is a fun and effective method. Listen to English songs, watch simple English videos, or even switch your phone's language to English.
When you hear the language used naturally, you start to pick up phrases and expressions without even thinking about it. For beginners, watching children's programs or simple YouTube videos is a great start.
And don't worry if you don't understand everything at first. The goal is to get your brain used to the sounds and rhythms of English.
It might feel a bit strange at first, but try talking to yourself in English. Describe what you are doing or what you see. For example, if you are making tea, you can say, I am boiling water, I put a tea bag in the cup.
This self-talk helps reinforce the habit of thinking in English. It's a simple practice, but it makes a big difference over time. The more you speak, even if it's just to yourself, the more natural it becomes.
And don't worry about mistakes. This is just practice, and every mistake is a step towards improvement.
Another effective technique is repeating phrases. Listen to a short sentence in English and then repeat it aloud. This method is called shadowing.
Shadowing helps your brain get used to the flow of English. It can be a sentence from a movie, a song, or even from this very podcast. Try to mimic the pronunciation and rhythm exactly.
You can record yourself and listen back. This way, you can notice how you sound and adjust if needed. It's a fun and interactive way to learn.
Let's try a little role play to show you how you can practice thinking in English in daily situations. We'll use simple examples that you can follow along with.
Great idea, Emma. Let's start with a morning routine. I'll be the person waking up, and you can be the one helping me get started in English.
All right. Imagine you wake up in the morning and look around your room. What might you say in English?
Good morning. Today is a new day. I see my bed, my window, and my desk. How do I say despertar without thinking of my native language? I am awake. I am ready to start my day.
Excellent, Alex. Now, as you go to the kitchen, you might say, I see a refrigerator, a sink, and a table. When I make coffee, I say, I am boiling water. I add coffee to my cup.
And by practicing these simple sentences, you train your brain to use English naturally. You are not translating in your head. You are thinking directly in English.
That's right. This role play can be done with any daily activity. For example, if you're shopping, you might think, I need to buy milk, bread, and eggs.
Exactly. Every time you talk to yourself in English, you reinforce your new habit. It's all about practice and repetition.
I want to share a few more tips that can help you make the switch to thinking in English even easier.
One tip is to immerse yourself as much as possible. Create an English environment. Even if you're not in an English-speaking country, you can listen to English radio, watch English TV shows, and read simple books in English.
Another tip is to set small daily goals. For example, decide that today you will use English for at least 10 minutes. It could be talking to yourself, writing a few sentences, or even thinking about what you're going to eat in English.
Yes, goals are important. They help you measure your progress and keep you motivated. Over time, as you build confidence, you can increase the amount of time you spend thinking in English.
Also, try to learn a few new words every day and use them in a sentence. This will add to your vocabulary and give you more tools to express your thoughts.
Don't worry if you forget some words or make mistakes. Learning a new language is a journey and every step counts.
One more technique is to join a study group or find a language buddy. Talking with others who are learning English can be very encouraging. You can practice speaking and thinking in English together.
And if you ever feel stuck, remember that even native speakers sometimes struggle to find the right word. It's all part of the process.
Let's talk about some common challenges you might face when trying to think in English. One challenge is that you might find yourself automatically translating in your head.
Yes, that's very common. When you catch yourself translating, try to stop and think of the English word directly. For example, if you see your comma, don't think bed after translating. It should come naturally after some practice.
Another challenge is feeling shy or worried about making mistakes. Remember, everyone makes mistakes when learning something new. Each mistake is a chance to learn and grow.
That's why it's important to practice in a safe space, whether it's by yourself or with friends who are also learning. Over time, your confidence will build up.
And don't forget, the goal is to communicate and express yourself. Perfection is not required. Progress is what matters.
Absolutely. Celebrate every small victory along the way, whether it's a new word learned or a sentence spoken in English without hesitation.
Now we have a practical exercise for you, our listeners. Here's what we want you to do today. 1. Choose one room in your home and label every object in English. 2. Write down 5 simple sentences in a notebook about what you do in the morning. 3. Spend 5 minutes talking to yourself in English. It can be about anything, what you're doing, what you see, or how you feel.
That's a great exercise. And remember, even if you only practice for a few minutes, it will help build your confidence. Try to do this exercise every day and see how your thinking changes over time.
Also, if you find a new word or phrase that you really like, write it down and try to use it later. Small steps like these will make a big difference in the long run.
And please, if you try these exercises, let us know in the comments how it went for you. We'd love to hear your stories and any challenges you faced. Sharing your experience can help other learners too.
We know that many of you have questions about thinking in English, so let's answer a few common ones.
One question we often hear is, how long does it take to start thinking in English? Well, it depends on how much time you practice each day. For some, it might take a few weeks, and for others, a few months. The key is consistency.
Another question is, what if I still find myself translating? That's completely normal. Even advanced speakers sometimes translate without thinking directly in English. Just gently remind yourself and keep practicing. The more you do it, the less you'll rely on translation.
And remember, every little bit of practice counts. Don't get discouraged if progress seems slow. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint.
Lastly, some of you ask if it's better to learn grammar or vocabulary first. Our advice is to work on both. Vocabulary gives you the words, and grammar helps you put them together. But when it comes to thinking in English, focus on simple, everyday language that you use frequently.
Before we end today's podcast, we want to remind you again. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you found these tips helpful. Your support means a lot to us and helps us create more content for you.
Also, if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, leave us a comment. We love hearing from you, and your feedback helps us improve.
To wrap up, remember that thinking in English is all about practice. Use these techniques every day, and soon you will notice that your mind naturally starts to use English without needing to translate.
And always remember, every learner's journey is unique. Keep going, stay motivated, and celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. We hope these tips and techniques help you on your journey to fluency.
Yes, thank you for listening. Remember to practice a little every day, and soon you will start thinking in English like a native speaker.
This has been a fun and informative session. We can't wait to see your progress and hear your success stories. Thanks again for spending your time with us.
Goodbye, everyone. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends who are also learning English.